Alrighty, and welcome to the last video of our chapter 21 and the last video for all of 232, getting ready for spring break coming up pretty soon. All right, so this is just a short few slides to cover some of the special circulations, but I also wanted to mention your blood vessel list. So very similar to your nerve list from the very beginning of this term, you'll be needing to identify the blood vessels on pictures, color pictures. They'll be blue and red color pictures for you to be able to identify the names of the blood vessels. You don't have to know the flow of where they're going or where they're coming from or that type of things, just straight ID. And I have posted the videos on Blackboard, kind of the tour of the blood vessels like I did with the nerves and the endocrine histology slide. So make sure you check those out to help you study and practice for your blood vessel list. All right, so I'm going to be covering 3 of the special circuits. The first one is hepatic portal circulation. So I know you have hepatic vein and hepatic portal vein on your blood vessel list. So what's the difference? Well, in general circulation, we have the aorta, right, going out and delivering all the oxygenated blood to your digestive viscera. Think the small intestine, large intestine, pancreas, stomach. They go through the capillary bed, and in a normal circulatory pattern, the capillary beds drain into venules, the venules are drained into veins, and eventually hit the vena cava and head back up to the heart. Well, this is a portal circulation. We had one in the endocrine system. Remember that from the hypothalamus down to the pituitary gland, 2 sets of capillaries. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. So all of this digestive viscera drains all of their blood. Instead of draining back into the inferior vena cava, it drains to this large vein called the hepatic portal vein. So the point of the hepatic portal vein is to take all of this venous blood from your entire digestive viscera and filter it through the kidney first, and then it leaves via the hepatic veins. Then it goes into the inferior vena cava. So it's like a long cut, right? And the reason why this is important is because your liver is a primary processing plant of all of the nutrients that just got absorbed in the digestive viscera. Think of the job of the intestines, the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine, is to break the food down that we eat, absorb it into the bloodstream, so then we can distribute it out to our cells. Well, the liver needs to process the amino acids, it needs to process the glucose, the lipids, and so all those things make a stopover in the liver first. Then the liver will send out the blood and the processed nutrients via the hepatic veins and into the inferior vena cava back to the heart to distribute out to the rest of the body. So that's the point of the hepatic portal, is to take all the blood from the digestive viscera to the liver first for processing before it gets dumped into the general circulation. Okay, hepatic portal circulation. The next is the cerebral arterial circle. It used to be called the circle of Willis. You still might see that in there. I like it because it reminds me of Bruce Willis, and he's pretty cool. So the cerebral arterial circle is a fail-safe for blood supply to the brain. So your 2 major arteries or sets of arteries that feed the brain are your internal carotid and your vertebral, these 2 guys right here. So they come up and they are the primary sources of arterial blood to your brain. And if you'll take a look, we have, so the vertebral is coming up this way and the carotid is coming up this way. And there is a connector, all of this right here. This is your cerebral arterial circle. All of these blood vessels are connected, almost like an anastomosis, but all arterial. It doesn't go from artery to vein. So what that means is, what if there was a blockage like right here? What if something was blocking that blood supply? Well, it would allow, let me pick a different color, I'll pick green, the blood to come in, and if it can't go that way, it can go all the way around and still be able to go to its destination. So it's like I said, a fail-safe to try to make sure that if there's blockages in these blood vessels, that there will still be a path for blood to get to the brain, because that's how important the brain needs blood, that oxygen requirement for its metabolism. All right, the last is fetal circulation. So we've already covered anatomy of the heart back in chapter 20, and you should be familiar with some of those remnants of fetal circulation, like the foramen ovale and the, well, we call it the ligamentum arteriosum, or the fossa ovalis. These are the and the adult structures. So the reason why we have those is because you have to remember the lungs are non-functioning in a fetus. They don't do the exchange. That happens in the placenta. So the placenta is this temporary organ that's produced. It's half maternal, half fetal tissue, and it is at that boundary between the mom's blood and the baby's blood where you get your exchange of oxygen and gases and nutrients and waste products and all that stuff is happening in the placenta. So we don't really need the lungs. We don't really need that circulation that would normally go to the lungs, like the pulmonary trunk. So we have these shortcuts. So we have the foraminal valve that shortcuts from the right atrium to the left atrium. And we have the ductus arteriosus that shortcuts the pulmonary trunk into the aorta. Basically, the lungs are collapsed, they're high pressure, so the blood's not going to want to really go in there anyways, but that's fine because there's no oxygen for them to be picking up or a place to drop off CO2. But we do have the umbilical cord, which is the umbilical vein. Remember, vein goes away from the heart, so that's carrying blood out to the placenta. Sorry, vein, back to the heart, carrying blood from the placenta back to the heart. So that's going to be our oxygenated blood. So that's why it's colored red. And it comes in very close to the liver and what's called the ductus venosus. And so interestingly, in a weird switch of oxygen levels, your inferior vena cava is actually carrying more oxygenated blood, which is opposite of what happens when you're an adult. And then we have our umbilical arteries, which are carrying blood away from the baby's heart. And so these guys are carrying the deoxygenated blood from the kind of aorta and other structures back to the placenta to drop off the CO2 and pick up oxygen coming back via the umbilical vein. So it's almost like the fetal circulation is reversed to the adult circulation because of the placenta is the organ of exchange, not the lungs in this instance. Okay. All right, so that wraps up our special circulations. We did fetal circulation, hepatic portal, and cerebral arterial circle. So good luck working on the rest of your blood vessel list. As always, send questions, stop by office hour, ask questions in lab. I am happy to help, and I will see you after spring break for 233. Bye.